Okay. Moving order tonight.
Look at that.
Town
This is a
manager's
rarity. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to start by sharing feedback that I received last week, both from a resident, but also forwarded to our office from the state. The residents shared their feedback with the state relative to services they received from our Veteran Services Office, specifically our Director, Chris Derry. This resident is a widow of a veteran who wasn't aware that she was eligible for a variety of benefits tied to her husband's service. She expressed her appreciation for Chris making her aware of the benefits, helping file an appeal with the state, which was successful, and then connecting her with other agencies that provided additional services. We don't often get direct outreach when things go really well. Typically, my office is who you call when things don't go well. So I was happy to share this with the board. It's also a current convenient opportunity for me to remind residents that if you are a veteran or a spouse or a widow of a veteran, to contact our Veteran Services Office to make sure that you're receiving every benefit. There are several tax benefits. There are benefits through the state that we administer, and then also VA benefits that we can help you obtain. You won't be wasting any time, even if you spend 10 minutes telling us your circumstance. At the very least, we'll just confirm that you're getting everything, but at the very best, we may find other benefits you're entitled to. The Veteran Service Office can be reached at 978-649-2300, extension 131. Earlier today, we released a communication survey to the town. The goal of the survey is to better understand how our community wants to be communicated with and to ensure that we continue to enhance our communication efforts, which is not just the goal of this select board, but has been a goal of the past 3 iterations of the select board, at least since I took over as town manager. It is a product of collaboration between all of our departments, specifically the ones that utilize social media. So if there's a department that has a social media account, they reviewed the survey, they provided feedback, in many cases added questions. The survey is available on the town's website and on the various social media pages, but we also have hard copies at the Center for Active Living and here in Town Hall in the town manager's office. So before this meeting, I checked and we were already up to 75 responses online. It'll take about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes to complete. Most of the questions are multiple choice. There's a few free-form questions. Really, we're trying to make sure that the way we communicate is standardized across every single department. If you look at our social media right now, some post one way, some post another way, and of course, just making sure that we're reaching residents where they want. You won't be surprised to know that 100% of the respondents said they love the town center digital sign, but I'll leave the rest of the results for another conversation. Last week, we were notified by my friends at the state that as of January 1st, 2027, the Department of Public Utilities will no longer collect a 20-cent per ride assessment on all ride shares that originate in the Commonwealth. This was called a TNC fee. It was established under Chapter 187 of the Acts of 2016, and under that law, each city and town received $10 or 10 cents, for any trip that originated in their community. The other 10 cents was deposited into the Commonwealth Transportation Fund, and they funded various transportation programs across the state. Over the last 5 years, Tyngsborough has received just under $11,000 through the program, all of which has to be spent on eligible transportation projects. We haven't spent any of those funds yet because we're letting it pile up. There's not much you can do in transportation for $11,000. But once we can expect to get another $6,500 for the next 3 years until it's over. We haven't received fiscal year 25 yet. We'll get it for fiscal year 27 and then the first half of 26 and the first half of 27. So the select board has to approve the expenditure. I envision that at some point this time next year, I'll be talking to you about some of our options. But again, at less than $20,000, we may be talking about some either speed signs or something along those lines. It's hard to believe given the temperatures today, but with another round of snow that fell midweek last week, our DPW has been incredibly busy this season. We'll continue to see some warmer weather next week, but we're monitoring our snow and ice account, which as of today sits at just over $600,000 spent since the start of the season. I put this update in here simply to demonstrate how incredibly expensive snow removal is, and Mr. Eldridge has talked about this a little bit in prior reports. The DPW people, I think residents of Tyngsborough have become very accustomed to what I believe is exceptional snow removal services, but it comes at a very pretty penny. We've tried to change our strategy this year to prioritize main roads, delay calling in contractors, but no matter what we do, I mean, the price just goes up. So I'm grateful for the DPW folks. I saw some of them today. They're thrilled that it's 60 degrees out and they're not moving snow anymore. And I'm hopeful that this is the last one. But by the end of April, I'll have the final number. And that dollar amount we'll just have to transfer from free cash in October, which is a standard every year thing. It's not unique to Tyngsborough. I am I have a very tiny amount of hope that the state may kick in some money. After the most recent blizzard, NEMA has been collecting snow totals, dollar amount totals. There is a slim chance, I don't want to make any promises, that they throw in some money from the emergency management funds the state has to help mitigate that, but it will likely depend on how hard the different counties were hit. Middlesex, unfortunately, was not, or fortunately, but in this case, unfortunately, was not one of the hardest hit ones, so we'll keep an eye on it, and by the end of April, I'll have a firm update on where that landed. On a more positive note, I'm happy to report that last week we were notified by the governor's office that our fiscal year 27 projected Chapter 90 allotment is $706,000. That aligns with last year's allotment and is $300,000 higher than our historical allotment. We typically receive between $350,000 and $400,000 a year. If you're not aware, Chapter 90 is the primary funding source for road projects in municipalities. On top of Chapter 90, the Select Board and Town Meeting allocated 75% of our cannabis excise funding to roads. So every year we're spending close to $2 million on roads. If you go back to 2017, we were spending $400,000 was our Chapter 70 allotment, or Chapter 90, excuse me. We didn't have an engineer on staff, so we were spending $35,000 to $50,000 hiring an engineer. So at the end of the day, we were paving $300,000 worth of road, which won't even get you the duration of one of the driveways into Town Hall. So we've made a lot of progress using general fund money at one point. Of course, that phased out in fiscal year 25. The Chapter 90 money, and then the 75% from cannabis excise. So I know that I can sit here and say we're spending $2 million, and until we pave your street, you still think that the roads are terrible. I get that. We're working on it. But I would encourage folks to check in with our DPW to find out more about the paving schedules. And once we clear budget season, we'll have our DPW superintendent in, as we do annually, to talk about what our plans are for next year. I'd like to give a shout out to our IT director, Tom LaFlame, for implementing another year of our critical cybersecurity training for all users here at Town Hall and across general government, as well as to our staff and board members who completed the training. We were recognized last week by the Commonwealth for our continued participation in this program, which aims to ensure that our staff are well trained to spot and manage potential cyber threats. Not only does this program protect our critical infrastructure and secure our data, but it allows us to maintain our cybersecurity insurance, which every year gets tougher and tougher to renew. Fortunately, because we do the training, we've taken several other steps. Our renewal is easy, but every year there are municipalities that are either paying a premium to get the cybersecurity insurance or are having to go into the private market to try to find some because they're not doing what we're doing. So I know that the training can be annoying. It's a lot of training, but we're certainly seeing the result. Our IT director can talk about the number of attempts that we see to get into our system, and because our staff and board members are aware, we've been doing very well. A little bit later tonight, we'll talk about the budget, but I wanted to flag a potential change in state law that will inevitably have a negative impact on our local receipt. The Massachusetts legislature, which is incredibly slow to address revenue challenges on the local level, is considering a bill that would eliminate the ability of the Registry of Motor Vehicles to place a hold on the driver's licenses of people who fail to pay their excise tax bill. Currently, if you go, typically it's at least a year without paying an excise tax bill, the registry takes hold of the collection. So we collect it for a certain period of time. Once it's called marked, the state has a quasi department that makes all of the collections. They're able to mark your license at the registry. So if my license was expiring this year and I had outstanding excise tax bill, I would have to pay the city or town where I have an outstanding excise tax bill before I can renew my license. Believe it or not, that accounts for probably close to 40% of our excise revenue. People just either forget or they don't pay it until they're forced to pay it. And I'm not debating the merits of an excise tax. It's a local revenue that we count on. If this bill passes, we would lose that enforcement ability. And as a result, I mean, we're on track to meet, I think, 2.8 million in revenue from excise tax this year. So 30% of that is a really large number. Worth mentioning, when Representative Gary and Senator-elect Howard are here at our tri-board meeting on March 23rd, but I wanted to note that we're going to talk about motor vehicle excise trending positively in the next, or one of the next agenda items. So I wanted to flag that. And then I'll just end on kind of an upbeat note. The Tyngsborough Police Department is joining forces with 8 other area police departments to support the Make-A-Wish Foundation through a new initiative called Wish Upon a Wave. On March 22nd, officers from 9 departments, including Tyngsborough, will brave the cold water of the Nahant Short Beach in support of the foundation. Each community is also selling commemorative patches. You can buy one of the patches from any police officer, from the station, or If you visit the Tyngsborough Police Department's website at tyngsboroughpd.com, you can order them directly online. 100% of the proceeds go to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So now's your chance to get a commemorative police patch. On a capital front, the Department of Public Works has submitted an application to Congresswoman Trahan's office for $2 million through the fiscal year 27 congressionally directed spending program that Congress offers every year as a way to make direct earmarks to states and municipalities. Our application focuses on the replacement of the Dunstable Road culvert at Constantine Drive. The culvert is a failed culvert that we received a municipal vulnerability preparedness grant from the Commonwealth in fiscal year 25 to design. However, given the cost, we simply can't afford to replace the culvert using just municipal funds. We're early in the process. I don't expect that we'll hear whether or not this is advancing until later this spring, but I was looking at some of the past congressionally directed spending, and last year they gave out several multi-million-dollar awards for culvert replacement. Our sewer division has gotten a lot of congressionally directed spending in the past, so I hope we're not competing with them, but it's something we know we have to fix, but again, the municipal budget alone can't handle it. And then just a few upcoming events. The Council on Aging will host Coping with Dementia, Planning and Decision Making this Wednesday at 6 p.m. at the Center for Active Living. The event is facilitated by Lucille Jerome and will help those living with and or caring for loved ones with dementia plan and make important decisions to set themselves up for success. The Recreation Department's annual Shamrock Ball will take place this Saturday, March 14th at 6 p.m. at the elementary school. There are still tickets available, so if you visit tyngsboroughrec.com, you can buy your ticket. The Rec Committee is hosting Music Bingo. The next installment is on March 20th, but that's already sold out. So if you want to participate, they still have seats available for the April 17th installment. And again, you can register by visiting tyngsboroughrec.com. The event starts at 7 p.m. at the clubhouse at Ironwood Park, and it is restricted to 18 plus. And then budget office hours for the fiscal year 27 budget begin in April. The first will take place on Tuesday, April 7th, 2026 at 3 p.m. at the Center for Active Living. On Wednesday, April 15th at 5:30, we'll host a virtual one, and the final one will take place on Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026, right here at Town